Hello and good evening, friends, and welcome to the Week 15 edition of Strictly Sports NFL Saturday. I am your host, Anthony Florio, joined as always by good old MF, Michael Fletcher. Maybe awaiting the presence of Michael Bullock. I'm not sure. If he comes in, we'll catch him up on what he missed. If not, then we'll see him tomorrow night for our WWE TLC pay-per-view recap over on MF's channel, Brace Fan 95. Week 15 in the NFL getting underway this past Thursday night. And what a game this turned out to be. We had the Los Angeles Chargers squaring off against the Las Vegas Raiders at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. And when all was said and done, the Los Angeles Chargers steal one in Las Vegas, 30-27 in overtime. Justin Herbert, 314 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Running game didn't really do much. Austin Eckler led that department with 60 yards. But Justin Herbert and Ballage had rushing touchdowns for the Chargers. Hunter Henry and T. Johnson for the touchdowns. Guyton led the way with 91 yards. Charger defense recorded a sack and an interception. But for the Raiders, their franchise quarterback, Derek Carr, early in the game, suffering a groin injury. He was out for the rest of the game. Not sure what's been going on with him ever since that, but hopefully it's not serious. He only went 3 of 5 for 53 yards. Marcus Mariota, he came in, 226 yards passing, a touchdown and an interception. And Mariota also had a rushing touchdown, 88 yards. And Josh Jacobs had a rushing touchdown for the Raiders. But it spoiled a fantastic effort by who I consider one of the best tight ends in the game today, Darren Waller, young man who I have on my fantasy team. He has been doing wonders for me the last couple of weeks. 150 yards and a touchdown in a losing effort. Their defense recorded 1 sack, and that's all there was to say on that. So, a crushing loss for the Las Vegas Raiders. I mean, they have lost 4 of their last 5 after starting the year 6-3, and their playoff hopes are pretty much now on life support. If you can, that's pretty much what we can say on that. I mean, their playoff hopes took a really big hit with this loss. So, that's really all there is to say on that. So, MF, as I get our numbers for the other game we're going to be recapping in just a moment. Chargers Raiders Thursday night. What a game this turned out to be. 5-star classic, Shakespearean drama. Chargers steal one in OT. Raiders, when it comes to their playoff hopes, they're in big trouble now.
They are in big trouble, and as a matter of fact, Anthony, it doesn't get even better for them, because of the fact that with that loss, now they're in jeopardy. They are in jeopardy. They are in big trouble, and now, they've opened the door for Miami. They've opened the door. Basically, if you're Tennessee, if you're Indy, if you're Cleveland, if you're Miami right now, you're ecstatic. You are very happy with that result. You are thrilled to see that loss by the Raiders. Chargers, you're gonna get a lot of food, a lot of love, and a lot of thank yous by a lot of teams in the next day or so. If you haven't gotten it already, this was a big win. This was a big moment for a lot of other teams, especially the teams that are right now fighting for a playoff spot. That was the best news to see yesterday on Thursday night, to see that result. No doubt about it. That definitely does hurt the Raiders, because now they are 2 games behind. They are 2 games behind Miami, 2 games behind Baltimore, and if Miami wins, and I think if Miami wins, if Miami wins, then that's a 2-game cushion with 2 games to go. You basically mathematically knock the Raiders right out. Well, no, the Raiders are still alive, But if Miami beats the Raiders next week, then it's over. Then they're done. They're not going anywhere. They go home. So this is very crucial. This game this week, for the Miami Dolphins, they could end up ending two teams' seasons. They could end up ending New England's season, and next week they would have the opportunity to end the Raiders' season with wins. So we'll wait and see what happens. But yeah, if you're the Titans, if you're Cleveland, if you're Indy, if you're Miami, that was the best news and the best result to see the Raiders lose on Thursday night. The Chargers played a great game. The Raiders hung in, and give credit to Marcus Mariota, man, to come in under those circumstances and to play how he played. That was remarkable. That was amazing. That was a yeoman's work. But unfortunately, it wasn't enough. Great game, but not enough to pull the victory. So nothing more to say. Anthony, yeah, let's talk about the other game. And as we could say, history was made earlier this afternoon in quite an emphatic statement to the AFC.
History was made? I didn't notice. Oh, yes. Forgive me. Forgive me if I have a little spring in my step. And I just have one quick question I want to ask all my fellow Bills Mafias out there. Bills Mafia, how does it feel to be a division champion for the first time in 25 years? If you're asking me, it's feeling pretty damn good. Oh, my goodness. How long we have waited for this. The Buffalo Bills kicked the door down at Empower Field at Mile High and made themselves right at home. The Buffalo Bills pounded the Denver Broncos 48-19. Oof, oofa. Oh, my goodness. And with that win, your Buffalo Bills, for the first time since 1995, are AFC Eastern Division champions. Oh, like Michael Cole said at the 1999 Royal Rumble, someone slapped me. Is this a dream? Ugh. No, this is not a dream, folks. This is real. This is damn real. I never thought I'd see this day ever again, but here it is. Here's how they did it. Josh Allen, 28 out of 40, 359 yards, 2 touchdowns passing, 33 yards, and 2 touchdowns rushing. Over just about 300, he had 392 all-purpose yards and 4 touchdowns in this win. No picks. Devin Singletary had a rushing touchdown, 68 yards. Stephon Diggs, what can you say about him? What an asset he has been since coming from Minnesota. 11 catches, 147 yards. Cole Beasley, 8 catches, 112 yards. Dawson Knox and Jake Kumaro had the receiving touchdowns. Defense recorded 3 sacks. And Jerry Hughes with the old scoop and score with a fumble return touchdown. That pretty much put the game out of reach. And that is all. That was all she wrote right there. And as for the Broncos, Drew Lock, he came off that incredible game against Carolina last week. 132 yards and a touchdown, no picks. Melvin Gordon, the only bright spot for Denver, 2 rushing touchdowns, 61 yards. Noah Fant, the other bright spot, 68 yards and a touchdown. Defense, they recorded 1 sack, and that really was all that they managed to muster. Broncos with the loss, they're now their playoff hopes officially dashed. Now they dropped to 5-9. Buffalo now 11-3, currently set as the number 3 seed in the AFC, and with this division title, it guarantees that the Buffalo Bills are going to host a playoff game for the first time since we beat MF's Miami Dolphins December the 30th of 95 in the AFC wildcard round, 37-22. So, man, I mean, needless for me to say, I am I mean, my heart is just absolutely bursting with excitement right now. I mean, I am feeling a little emotional right now because I never thought I would ever see the day that my Buffalo Bills would win an AFC Eastern Division title. I thought I was going to be old and gray by the time this came, but no, it's here and it's now. And wow, since the days of Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas, Andre Reed, Bruce Smith, and the legendary Marv Levy as the coach, and this is the best day. This is the best day for as a Bills fan since New Year's Eve 2017, when the Bills ended the 18-year playoff drought in the craziest of fashions. We all know how that ended. So there isn't much more to say except this is just the beginning. We're going for more. This is not going to be a one and done. So I'll believe it when I see it, but for right now, I'm just gonna bask in this glory, and we're gonna party like it's 1995, and wow. So not much more to say. MF, did you ever think this day would come? I honestly never thought it would, but here we are. After 25 long years, Bills Mafia, our long wait is over. We're AFC Eastern Division champs. What do you say to that, MF?
Yeah, I mean, look, the team did what they needed it to do. They got the job done. They won the game that they needed to win the games. The most important thing was their defense stepped up when they had to step up. Josh Allen has proven to be a reliable quarterback. That's something that I hate to say that the Bills was lacking in the last few years. You got a decent enough running game. And yeah, I mean, no doubt about it. It's great to win a division. But the thing is that if you're a Bills fan, enjoy the moment. Enjoy it. Because this is an opportunity that you can really turn some heads. And like you said, the job is not done. If you're the Buffalo Bills, you're thinking, all right, we got the division. That's the first off the list. Now we got to propel through the AFC. Obviously, wildcard weekend is going to come up. If the season ends today, you will run into the Indianapolis Colts. That would be your opponent for round one. Now, Indy, I'm going to openly admit it. They're like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. You never know what type of team you're going to get. So, that's going to be very interesting to watch. If you get by them, then you possibly run into Kansas City. Well, no. You actually run into Pittsburgh a second time around. But this time...
And we know how that one ended now, don't we, last week?
Now, wait, hold. Because that was in Buffalo. Now you're going to Pittsburgh. That's a different animal. And that's a different team when they're at home. But Pittsburgh's been sliding. No, Pittsburgh's been sliding. Pittsburgh's been sliding lately. So, because who knows? Buffalo still has an outside shot at number 2. They got a small shot at the number 2 seed. Number 1, I think, is too far away. Number 1 seed, I don't think you're getting that. There's no way you're catching Kansas City. Forget it. You're not catching them. But a 2 seed, that could open the door. And if that holds, but here's the thing. If you get the 2, and if Miami holds at 7, we got ourselves a rematch.
Yeah,
we'd be facing off 2 weeks in a row.
Yep.
Yes, it would be in Buffalo, but here's the thing. I don't think the first matchup we're going to see Josh Allen and the boys, because now that you guys clinched the AFC East, I think they're going to rest some of the starters now, which is actually great for the Miami Dolphins. I'm actually happy this has happened. I'm actually glad that this happened, because now that gives us an opening that we could actually beat you guys and get into the playoffs. You guys might not want to say, you know what? We don't need to push this game. We don't need this. We got what we wanted. We got the division. If we get the 2 seed, this is great for us. Now we don't have to worry about it. We could just throw this final game, let Miami get in. If Miami wins, they're in. Then you just go from there. There's nothing more to play. So we'll see how this comes out. So if you're a Miami Dolphin fan, you're relishing now. Now you're like, wait a minute. We need 3 wins to get in. Beat New England, and that's possible because New England's been back and forth. You don't know how they've been playing.
Yep.
You go up against a Raider team that's struggling, that's basically on life support. Now you got, yup, and possibly no Derek Carr. Now, and the third and final game, now you're looking at possibly Buffalo with no Josh Allen, no Stephon Diggs, none of the starters on the defensive side because they're all most likely going to be resting to get ready for the playoffs. Are you kidding me? This is the greatest thing that could have happened for the Miami Dolphins right now. So, yes, congratulations, Buffalo. Happy that you guys won the division. But now I can't wait to beat your asses in Week 17 to get into the playoffs. So, nothing more to say.
Okay. But we'll have to wait and see because you never know. I mean, that 2 spot, I mean, it could still be up for grabs. So we'll have to wait and see. So, but we got to see what Pittsburgh does. They got an easy one coming up, but their final 2, not going to be easy because they got to play Indy at home and then they got to go to Cleveland. And, you know, Cleveland's still hungry. So, but anyways, let's get into the remaining action. We have one more game in progress right now. It's the Carolina Panthers and the Green Bay Packers from Lambeau Field. And Green Bay hold on to a 21-13 lead late in the fourth quarter. And I believe they're going to be punting away. So, it's starting to get a little dicey here. I mean, they had a 21-3 lead, and now all of a sudden Carolina, they're about to get the ball back with 3:44 to go. You better be careful, Green Bay, because if you allow a touchdown in a 2, we got a tie game. So watch out. Don't take your foot off that gas just yet. So, okay. So with that being said, let's get into the remaining action of week number 15. And
Anthony, I got some breaking news. I'm sorry to interrupt. I got some major breaking news. This is coming out of the Tournament of Roses, which is the company that does the Rose Bowl. They have just informed the NCAA, and they are informing everybody that the Rose Bowl game will be played. However, the game has been moved now to AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. So that means, yes, it's just been announced that the Tournament of Roses has announced that the Rose Bowl game will now be played in Arlington, Texas on January 1 due to COVID-19 because of the fact that the state of California would not let the Rose Bowl game be played in Pasadena. They have just made the announcement that the Rose Bowl game has now been moved to AT&T Stadium in Arlington.
Well, there you go. So, and they allow fans. They do allow fans. I mean, we've seen, the limited fans all season long, including earlier today in the Big 12 championship, which Oklahoma won again. So, yeah. And by the way, I stand corrected. Green Bay was actually in range for a field goal, and they made it. Mason Crosby from 51 yards out. It's now 24-13. So Green Bay's got a little breathing room now. So I stood corrected on that. So maybe Green Bay might have a shot at putting it away. So we'll see. Anyways, let's get into the action. MF, I need your help on this first one. This is the first of a few divisional games we have here. Tampa Bay and Atlanta. Is this their second meeting? I would imagine it is. I mean, I want to say this is their second meeting because I'm pretty sure they played already in Tampa.
No, this is their first.
Oh, okay.
Their last meeting was December 29th, 2019. and Atlanta won that game 28-22. So no, Anthony, this is actually their first.
So I guess they'll be meeting twice in 3 weeks then. All right.
Yes, they are.
They'll obviously meet again in week 17.
They'll meet again in week 17
in Tampa. So
yep.
All right. So first, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Atlanta Falcons, Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. Over on Fox, Kevin Burkhardt, Daryl Moose Johnston, Pam Oliver. They will be on the call for that one. And Tampa Bay opening up as a 5.5-point favorite. Atlanta, however, leads the all-time series 28-25. Tampa Bay winning in Atlanta last year, 35-22. Falcons' last home win against the Bucs was the year before, 2018. That was a 34-29 win. So let's get into this now. Tampa Bay and Green Bay to kick things off. You know the routine. What to watch for, bold predictions, stat to know. MF will supply the playoff scenarios. I'll supply the draft scenarios and fantasy. What to know for fantasy? The betting nugget for all you gamblers out there, and the FPI and the score. So here we go. What to watch for? Most of the time, when the "what's wrong with Matt Ryan" question is raised, the Falcons quarterback follows up with a strong outing. His passer ratings the past 5 games, 2 of which were wins, have been 112.1, 45.8, 75.3, 80.4, and 57.3. That's all over the place. If Ryan wants to prove to Atlanta that he still has it and can be the guy next season, a strong rebound against Tampa Bay is the place to start. Bold prediction, the Bucs will have 3 red zone stops on defense. They had 2 last weekend against the Vikings and 3 before the bye week against the Chiefs. And for all the positive changes Coach Raheem Morris has made, the Falcons are still one of the worst red zone scoring teams on offense in the league, averaging just 48.9% in red zone touchdown efficiency, 31st. Scoring for them is going to have to come from chunk plays downfield. Stat to know, in 8 wins, Tampa Bay quarterback Tom Brady has been sacked 5 times and pressured on 13% of dropbacks while completing 44% of his passes, thrown 20-plus yards, downfield, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. But in losses, Brady has been pressured and struggled with the deep ball. In 5 losses this season, he was sacked 11 times, pressured on 27% of dropbacks, and able to complete just 21% of passes, 20-plus yards downfield, 1 touchdown, 5 interceptions. Playoff/draft picture, it's unlikely, but the Buccaneers can clinch a playoff berth this weekend. MF will give you the details on that in a moment. They have a 97% chance to make the playoffs at this point, whereas the Falcons are eliminated and looking to jump from their current number 6 projected draft spot into the top 5, which FPI gives them a 36.4% chance to do. For fantasy, Atlanta tight end Hayden Hurst has 12.4 fantasy points over his past 4 games total. It's not ideal, but the Buccaneers are allowing the 5th most tight end points this season, allowing opponents to complete 73.2% of their tight end targets, 5th highest in the process. Betting nugget, Atlanta is 1-4 against the spread against teams winning records this season. Tampa Bay, a 64% FPI favorite. I'm going with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to win this game, 24-16. Not much more to say. MF, it's unlikely, but Tampa Bay can actually get a playoff spot this weekend. How do they do so?
Well, Anthony, the way that they would have to do it to get in, they would need to win their game, and then they would need literally the Bears, the Vikings, and Arizona all to lose. If that happens, they're in. So there's no sugarcoating this right now. For them to get in, they would need the Arizona Cardinals to lose this weekend. They would need the Minnesota Vikings and the Chicago Bears. All 3 of those teams to all fall. And that gets Tampa into the playoffs. On top of that, they would have to win their game as well. So that's how they would get in. I'm going to go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I do believe they'll win the game. And let's just move right on along, Anthony. Next game.
And it's on our side of the ledger, and unfortunately, it's our zonk game of the week. We got the Jacksonville Jaguars squaring off against the Baltimore Ravens from M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore on CBS with Andrew Catalon, James Lofton, and Sheree Burris. Baltimore opening up as a 12.5-point favorite. That's not even the biggest spread of the week. We'll get into that later. However, Jacksonville leads the all-time series 12-9. Remember, these two used to be divisional rivals back in the old AFC North, or AFC Central, rather. Their last meeting was 3 years ago in London, and Jacksonville pounded Baltimore 44-7. Their last meeting in Baltimore was 2015, and Jacksonville actually won that 22-20. Ravens' last home win against Jacksonville was the year before that, 2014, 20-12. So, MF, I mean, this is one of our locks of the week. I mean, Baltimore. What a performance on Monday night in the game of the year against Cleveland. What a game. Wow.
They needed that game more than any other game, and they got it. And if you're looking at that score line, you saw that and you're thinking, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. Baltimore did it again. But they did. They prevailed. That was a big win for them. And now that puts them in the driver's seat. Now they're going to need help. They need Miami to lose. If they lose and they win, they get the finals playoff spot, and then they're in the driver's seat going in. So this is a very crucial game, but when you got Lamar Jackson and what he did, coming back from after getting cramps in the game, he came back and won it. Hollywood Brown looked good. The defense, they bended, not braked on that game. That was a big game for them to win. So obviously, this is going to be one of those big moments. Baltimore has answered the bell so many times. They're going to answer it one more time. I think they're going to win this game. Anthony, this, like you said, this is the lock of the week more than any other game.
Well, one of. I mean, there's another one. There's a bigger lock that we're going to get into it in a little bit. But anyways, trying to find it in my notes. Okay. What to watch for? Quarterback Lamar Jackson and the Ravens' dominant rushing attack face a struggling Jaguars run defense. Baltimore leads the NFL in rushing, 173.8 yards a game, and has produced over 200 yards on the ground in back-to-back games. Jacksonville has allowed the third most rushing yards this season, 145.5, and gave up 249 last weekend to the Tennessee Titans. Bold prediction, Yannick Ngakoue will have multiple sacks on Sunday. The Ravens defensive end said he's treating this as just another game, but nobody believes that, right? It was an ugly end to his time in Jacksonville, which included calling the owner's son, who is also the team's executive VP of football administration technology, a clown on social media. Jaguars offensive tackles Cam Robinson and Jawan Taylor have struggled against quicker rushes this season, and Ngakoue will take advantage. Stat to know, the Jags have lost 12 straight games, the second longest losing streak in franchise history, 13 straight in 2012-13. But on the upside, they have a plus 74-point differential against the Ravens and are 12-9 in the matchup's history. Playoff draft picture, the Ravens have the easiest remaining schedule in the NFL per FPI, as their final three opponents are a combined 8-30-1 this season. They have a 53% chance to win out, according to FPI. While they currently have an 86% chance to make the playoffs, they'd be looking at 53% with a loss this weekend, independent of results in other games. The Jags, meanwhile, are projected to take home the number 2 spot in the draft and even have a 24.6% chance to move into the top spot. For fantasy, Jacksonville running back James Robinson and Buffalo receiver Stephon Diggs are the only running backs, wide receivers, or tight ends to have scored 10 PPR points in all 13 of their team's games this season. Betting nugget, Baltimore is 39-0 outright as a double-digit favorite in the regular season, the only team to never lose in that spot. And they are an 87.6% FPI favorite. That's about 88% going with the Ravens. I'm going with the Ravens as well. Easy win here, 34-10, all Baltimore. So not much more to say on that. Let's get into our next matchup. And I believe we'll be staying on our, which is very loaded, by the way. A very loaded on our side of the ledger. I believe this is the second meeting between Houston and Indy, right, MF? I'm pretty sure this is their second. I thought they just had a meeting just recently.
This is their second. This is Houston and Indy we're talking?
Yeah.
All right, 1 second. Houston and Indy.
I'm pretty sure they already met in Houston.
Yes, actually, a couple of weeks ago, yeah, about a couple of weeks ago, and Indy won the game 26-20. So yes, this is the second meeting.
I thought so. Okay. Houston Texans, Indianapolis Colts, Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana, over on CBS with the legendary Greg Gumbel, Rich Gannon, and Jay Feely. And Indianapolis opening up as a 7.5 point favorite. No surprise there. And Indy won the previous meeting in Houston. So with that, it adds to Indianapolis's lead. This is a one-sided rivalry. With that win, Indianapolis now leads the regular season series 28-9. However, Houston won won the game in Houston. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Indy won in Indianapolis 30-23. The Texans' last win in Indy was the year before, 2018, 37-34 in overtime. Crazy game, but it is what it is in that regard. So let's get into Houston and Indy here. Okay. What to watch for? Keep an eye on the Colts pass rush facing the Texans offensive line. The Colts were shut out when it came to sacks against the Raiders last week, but Houston quarterbacks were sacked 7 times by the Chicago Bears last week. Indianapolis sacked Texans QB Deshaun Watson 6 times when these teams met 2 weeks ago, and the Texans have given up 40 sacks this season. Bold prediction, Houston wide receiver Kiki Kute will have another game with 100 or more receiving yards. The 3 best games in Kute's career have come against the Colts. A combined 22 catches for 275 yards, and that will continue Sunday. Stat to know, Watson has 25 passing touchdowns this season, and he needs just 2 more to set a new career high. For the playoff/draft picture, the Colts enter the weekend with an 85% chance of making the playoffs per FPI. They'll have a 95% chance with a victory Sunday, but a 66% chance with a loss. Houston is out of the playoff race, but also does not have a first-round pick for 2021. For fantasy, Tyreek Hill, DK Metcalf, and T.Y. Hilton are the only players this season to string together 3 straight games with 80 receiving yards and a touchdown reception, with Hilton being the one riding an active streak. Betting nugget, Indianapolis is 8-2 against the spread in its past 10 games as a favorite. Indianapolis is the FPI favorite, 63.7%, about 64% going with Indy. I'm going with Indy, but I think Houston's going to make it close. Indy will escape with a win again. I'm going to say 31-24. Indy beats Houston. So MF, we know Houston's out, but as far as Indy, what are their playoff chances looking like?
Well, right now, like you said, they need to win. They need to win out. If they win out, that pretty much secures them a playoff spot. Currently, right now, as it stands today, they are currently in the number 5 spot in the AFC. Actually, the number 6 spot in the AFC. With some results, they could leap up to 5. But remember, the top 4 are divisional winners, so you cannot go any more higher than 5. 5, 6, 7 is the wild cards. That's where it's gonna come from. So if you right now you're looking at possibly playing the Buffalo Bills in the first round. If you should get into the 5 spot, you do end up possibly running into the Tennessee Titans. So a big win here would almost guarantee them a playoff spot. Like you said, 95% chance if they get it, if they win, that would almost guarantee them into the postseason. They have to win. So Indy should win it, no doubt about it. But if Houston keeps losing, that benefits the Miami Dolphins, because the Miami Dolphins are the one that has their first round draft pick. That was based off the Laramie Tunsil trade that they did, and that is coming back to really benefit the Miami Dolphins, because with them keep losing, with them continuing to lose each game right now, they're right now looking at being the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They would actually right now would be depending on a coin toss and everything else, um, their pick could be no higher. It could be between the 5 to 8 range for the Miami Dolphins. A top 5 draft pick in the 2021 draft. Man, Houston, you made a horrific mistake by giving up your first round draft pick, because it could be a top 10 pick that you just packaged to the Miami Dolphins. Oof. Florio, I got Indy winning. It's yours.
Speaking of the Miami Dolphins, here you go, MF. It's only fitting you lead off on this one. It's one of our games of the week. It's our number 4 game of the week on our side. The New England Patriots squaring off against the Miami Dolphins from Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. I don't need the help with this one. We already know these teams met before. It was opening day. It was week 1, all the way back in week number 1 in Foxborough, and the Patriots won that game. And so the Patriots have the leg up on the Dolphins. With that, the Patriots cut into the Dolphins series lead. The Dolphins still lead the series, but the lead has dwindled. It is now 55-52 in favor of the Miami Dolphins, with the Patriots winning Foxborough in week 1. Patriots won in Miami last year. You remember 43-0 beatdown of the Dolphins a year ago. But the Dolphins have had the Patriots number in recent years. The last time the Dolphins beat the Pats at home, it was only the Miami Miracle in 2018, which MF considers to this day still his Super Bowl moment. I mean, we'll never forget that for as long as we live. Him, Eric Carrier, and the rest of their Dolphin family were absolutely bouncing around and celebrating like they won the damn Super Bowl, for goodness sakes. So, but we'll see. I don't expect it to be that close this time, but you never know. But Iron Eagle, Charles Davis, Evan Washburn, they'll be on the call. Dolphins opening up, but the Dolphins are the favorites, but not by much. It's only a 2-point Miami favorite, so just a 2-point spread, MF. So Patriots, their playoff hopes are on life support, but for the Dolphins, if they want to get into the playoffs, this is definitely a must-win for them, MF. Big game for you guys.
Oh, without a doubt. Big game for both teams. For New England, their dwindling hopes of making the playoffs, they got to win out. They needed Miami to lose 3 out of their last 4. They needed Baltimore to lose 2 out of their last 4. They needed Indy to lose 2 out of their last 4. And I do believe they also needed Cleveland. They needed, let me see, hold on a second. Because there was a scenario. New England had to win out. Then they needed, I'm sorry, guys. All right, here it is. So in order for New England to get in, wild card, they needed Miami to lose, basically 3 out of their last 4, Baltimore to lose 2 out of their last 4, the Raiders to lose 2 out of their last 4, and New England had to win out to get to the playoffs. If Miami beats New England on Sunday, New England is out. They will be eliminated from playoff contention. They would go home. There would be no way New England would be able to catch Miami. At least when it comes to wild card, they won't be able to catch them. So, if Miami wins, that puts them at 9-5. New England would be dead in the water at that point. And how apropos would that be for the Miami Dolphins that for 2 years in a row, they would be responsible for the demise of the New England Patriots? That would be absolutely crazy. Miami is definitely banged up. But you know what? I gotta say it. I think a lot of people are now showing Miami the respect that they deserve. After their gutsy, heart-ridden, never say die, never give up attitude, fighting back and scrapping and clawing into a war with the Kansas City Chiefs last week, even though they lost. I think they finally got the respect of the NFL and of the AFC. Tua Tagovailoa is now is starting to look like the franchise quarterback that the Miami Dolphins were looking for. Tua Tagovailoa is looking like the Tua Tagovailoa of Alabama. And if he starts to play like that, my goodness, the sky is the limit. Obviously, the running game has been a struggle because we've had injuries, COVID, everything you want to talk about. One big bit of news that was good news for the Miami Dolphins, Levante Parker will play tomorrow. Our playmaker will be on the field tomorrow. Hakeem Grant right now is a game time decision. I mean, after what happened, a couple of weeks ago with the bruised ribs and everything else, we don't know what he's going to look like. But let me tell you one thing that's going to happen. Turnovers, because Miami is ball hawking right now. We got ourselves I'm going to say it, we got the Defensive Player of the Year with Xavier Howard. 9 interceptions, and let me tell you, anybody who thought last week was a mirage, they're thinking, no way. Yeah, of course. Okay, Patrick Mahomes carved up the Dolphins D. He lit us up, but we took 3 away from him. 3 INTs on the great Patrick Mahomes. So you don't think the Dolphin D is geared up? And a lot of these Dolphin former Patriot players knows that they're playing the Patriots tomorrow in Miami with 13,000 of Dolphin fans in the stadium? This is a recipe for disaster if you're the New England Patriots. This is why they hate coming to Miami. This place is a house of horrors for them. Yeah, there's been some success, but Anthony, you alluded to the Miami Miracle. Every time Miami plays New England this late in the year in Miami, 9 times out of 10, Miami has gone on to win this game. With playoff implications on the line, Miami will find a way to get the job done. I expect Tua to have a big game yet again, and I do believe that defense of the Dolphins that has been rejuvenated, looking like the team of the no-name defense way back in the day. The one thing that was always about Miami was a decent quarterback and their defense. Brian Flores should be commended for the job that he has done with this Miami Dolphin team. What a turnaround it's been from last year to this year. And you could even say Brian Flores right now should be a candidate for Coach of the Year on the AFC side. But I can also make an argument for the Buffalo Bills head coach for winning the division. He's definitely in the mix. There's a few guys for Coach of the Year right now that should be in the conversation. But for the Dolphins, this is their moment. They can't not let this get away. They need this game more than any other, because with the Raiders coming up, with Buffalo coming up, you need a win. I think 2 wins and a couple of losses, maybe from Indy, maybe from Cleveland, could actually help Miami get to the playoffs. And you know what? You talk about celebrating, Anthony, seeing your Buffalo Bills winning the division. Imagine the Dolphins getting into the postseason, man. I have not seen that in a long time, and I'm ready for them to get there. So Miami wins. Nothing more to say. Anthony, it's yours.
I believe it's been 4 years since you guys have been in. So I do have some breaking news of my own. The Green Bay Packers have just defeated the Carolina Panthers 24-16. And I do have to correct MF on something. The Green Bay Packers have already won the NFC North. They won the division before this game tonight. So, but they won tonight. So they are now they are in the proverbial driver's seat when it comes to the number 1 seed in the NFC. I believe if they win the remaining 2, including that big one against Tennessee next Sunday night, and then at Chicago the following week, I believe the road to the Super Bowl in the NFC would go through Lambeau Field. So 4 in a row. So I mean, Aaron Rodgers. Oh man, not much. He only had 143 yards passing and a touchdown. Aaron Jones. Here's another guy I have on my fantasy team, and he put up some big numbers tonight. 145 yards rushing and a touchdown for the win. And checking the quick numbers here. Rodgers didn't do much, but Aaron Jones, though, big game for him. Aaron Rodgers actually had a rushing touchdown as well. Ryan, a receiving touchdown. Defense recorded 3 sacks here. Yes, 3 sacks for the defense. But it was the Aaron Jones show pretty much. And all Green Bay needed. Teddy Bridgewater, 258 yards passing. He had a rushing touchdown. DJ Moore, 131 yards receiving. And it spoiled a great effort from the defense. The defense recorded 5 sacks, but it was not enough as the Green Bay Packers defeat the Carolina Panthers 24-16. So, MF, a quick thought as Green Bay holds off Carolina 24-16. They now control their own destiny for that number 1 seed. Win the remaining 2, and the road to the Super Bowl in the NFC is going through Lambeau. So that's all there is to say on that. So, all right. Let me get to my thoughts on. Let me get to the Patriots Dolphins stuff on my end here. What to watch for? The Patriots are the NFL's 5th best rushing offense, 147.5 yards a game, and they leaned on that rushing for 217 yards. Quarterback Cam Newton had 75 when they beat the Dolphins 21-11 in Week 1. Miami's rushing defense, 120.2 yards a game allowed, 22nd in the NFL, has improved some since then. But the Dolphins were key to stopping the Patriots offense, optimizing the running attack. Prediction: a trick play with Newton on the receiving end will provide a spark as the Patriots need to pull out all the stops with their season on the line. Even though playoff hopes are a long shot, the Patriots will go all out to win, and the offense will need to get creative at times to jumpstart an attack that produced only 3 points in a Week 14 Thursday night loss to the Rams. Stat to know, the Dolphins have forced a turnover in 19 consecutive games, the longest active streak in the NFL, and the Dolphins' longest streak since a 19-game run in 97-98. The most recent time Miami had a longer streak was in 1982 to 1985, 42 straight. Playoff draft picture: the Patriots could be eliminated from the playoffs with a loss this weekend, which would end a streak of 11 straight seasons with a postseason appearance. They are projected to pick 16th in the draft with a 1.9% chance to move into the top 10 per FPI. In a role reversal, the Dolphins have a 30.2% chance to see some playoff football. What to know for fantasy? Newton had a season-high 15 rushing attempts, 75 yards, and 2 touchdowns in the Week 1 meeting with the Dolphins. He scored 25.7 fantasy points in that game, but he has reached that mark just once since. Betting nugget: this is the first time Miami has been favored over New England since 2013, and it's the first time Miami has been favored by more than 1 point over New England since 2003. But believe it or not, New England is the FPI favorite. Not by much, though. 51.8%. About 52% going with New England. I very much disagree with that. I am going to go with the Miami Dolphins to win this game. I agree with you, MF. Close game. Don't get me wrong. It's going to be close, but I think Miami will eke it out. I'm going to say 20-16. Miami beats New England. So there's not much more to say on that. So, all right. Next up, we have... All right, another divisional game. MF, I'm going to need your help on this one now. Chicago Bears, Minnesota Vikings. Chicago Bears, Minnesota Vikings.
This is...
I want to say this is their second, because I think they met on a Monday night in Chicago.
Yep. This is their second meeting. November 16th was the first battle, and Minnesota won that game 19-13. Yes, you're absolutely right. I believe that was an overtime finish. Let me just double check that.
Yeah, I thought I was right on that. I remember they met earlier this year. I just wanted to be sure.
No, actually, it ended in 4 quarters. No, it was a regular game. Yep. So it did not end in overtime.
Minnesota stole one in Chicago.
Yes.
Okay. So next, the Chicago Bears and the Minnesota Vikings from US Bank Stadium in Minneapolis, Minnesota on Fox. Chris Myers, Greg Jennings, and Jennifer Hale will be there. And the spread favors the Minnesota Vikings by 3. And with that win in Chicago, Minnesota now adds to their regular season series lead. It's now 61-55 with 2 ties in favor of Minnesota, ending a 4-game losing streak to the Bears. The Bears had swept the previous 2 years, which meant the Bears won in Minnesota last year and the year before that. Minnesota has not beaten the Bears at home since 2017. That was a 23-10 final. So let's get to Chicago and Minnesota. What to watch for? All eyes will be on Vikings kicker Dan Bailey after he missed 3 field goals and an extra point in a Week 14 loss to Tampa Bay. Coach Mike Zimmer was lukewarm on his commitment to Bailey this week, but given the COVID-19 protocols and Bailey's long history of being an excellent kicker, all signs point to Minnesota not making a change for the Bears game. But if Bailey misses a kick Sunday, I'm not so sure how much longer he'll be on the roster. Bold prediction, the Bears could maybe win their 3rd straight game in Minnesota for the first time since 1983-85. Chicago coach Matt Nagy has had the Vikings number at US Bank Stadium, where his team has won each of the last 2 seasons, including a dominant victory in the 2018 regular season finale that kept Minnesota out of the playoffs. Nagy is 4-1 lifetime versus the Vikings, the lone loss occurring when these teams met at Soldier Field on November 16th. Stat to know, Minnesota running back Dalvin Cook has 14 rushing touchdowns this season, the second most in a single season in Vikings history. Adrian Peterson had 18 in 2009, but Cook has averaged 2.84 yards per rush in 4 career games against the Bears. Playoff/draft picture, the winner of this game will stay in the playoff hunt, while the loser will have no better than a 5% chance of reaching the postseason. According to FPI, Chicago is currently looking at a 15% chance to make the playoffs, which could rise to 36% with a win and would fall to 2% in a loss. Minnesota, sitting at 21% now, would jump to 32% with a win, but drop to 5% in a loss. What to know for fantasy? Vikings wide receiver Adam Thielen scored twice in the first meeting with the Bears, but Justin Jefferson had twice as many receptions and caught 80% of his targets. Thielen was at 57.1%. Betting nugget, Chicago is 1-4 against the spread in its last 5 games. Minnesota, FPI favorite, 59.4%. I'm going with the Minnesota Vikings to win. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think Minnesota will eke this one out. I'm going to go 28-27, Minnesota, Chicago, MF. This is, in every sense of the word, you could say this is somewhat of an eliminator game for both of these teams.
Yes, it is. It is definitely an eliminator, and I'm going to actually go with the Minnesota Vikings as well. Really nothing more to add, so Anthony, let's just move right on along.
All right. In this next game, do you remember when these two teams met about 25 or 30 years ago? Their games were always fun to watch, and we were all so excited to see them go.
Absolutely.
But this time around,
not so much.
No. I think we might have gone a little out of alphabetical order, but that's okay. It's the San Francisco 49ers squaring off against the Dallas Cowboys, AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. A game that was originally supposed to be on Fox, but just recently got cross-flexed over to CBS. Kevin Harlan, Trent Green, Melanie Collins, they will be on the call. And San Francisco opening up as a 3-point favorite. And the series history, it favors the San Francisco 49ers 15-13 with a tie. Of course, we best know them from their 7 postseason meetings, all those NFC divisional and NFC championship games they had back in the day. But Dallas has won the last 2, but those were both in San Francisco. Their last meeting in Dallas was 2014. San Francisco won 28-17. Dallas has not beaten the Niners at home since 2008. I believe they were at the old. I was the last year at their old Texas stadium, 35-22. So MF, like I said, you remember the names like Young and Rice and Owens and all those legends for San Francisco, Aikman, Smith, Irvin, for Dallas. 25, 30 years ago, these games meant something. They were fun to watch. 2020, and no.
Yeah, unfortunately, both because of the fact that both teams have had major injuries, either injuries or COVID or whatever you want to say, and it's really hurt. This year, Dallas had high expectations. San Francisco was playing in the Super Bowl a year ago, but it is what it is. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm gonna go with I'm going to go with the 49ers. I think they're going to win this game. There's really nothing more to add. So, Anthony, I give it to you.
Yeah, no playoff implications for either team here. I'm pretty sure there's no implications. I'm guessing. But also when it comes to San Francisco and Dallas, one other thing I should have mentioned: when they met back in the day, you knew it was going to be Pat Summerall and John Madden. And how many of those games did they have over their legendary career between those two, regular and postseason? A lot. So not so much here, but anywho, getting into this now. What to watch for? The Cowboys' run defense can feel good about its performance against Cincinnati last weekend, allowing 101 yards on 30 carries. But in facing similar run schemes to what San Francisco uses, the unit has struggled majorly. The Browns ran for 307 yards against Dallas, the most allowed in team history. Washington ran for 189 and 182 yards in sweeping the Cowboys this year. Gap discipline is a must versus San Francisco. The Cowboys have yet to show the ability to be sound when facing a zone scheme. Bold prediction for the second time this season, 49er running back Jeff Wilson Jr. will set a career high for rushing yards, surpassing the 112 he had against New England in Week 7. Dallas is giving up a league-worst 162.7 rushing yards a game and 5.07 yards a carry. With Raheem Mostert still dealing with the lingering effects of a previous ankle injury, this is a favorable matchup for Wilson and the Niners on the ground. Stat to know, San Fran quarterback Nick Mullins has thrown 7 interceptions since Week 8. Drew Lock, 9, and Matt Ryan, 8 are the only players who have more in the NFL over that span. Playoff draft picture, the 49ers 79% and Cowboys 71% entered the season with the 4th and 5th highest percentages to make the playoffs, according to FPI, but now both face elimination. Cowboys will be eliminated from postseason contention with a loss or wins by Washington and Arizona. The Niners are eliminated with a loss and a Cardinals win. It would be the second consecutive season that the Super Bowl runner-up failed to make the playoffs in the following season, the LA Rams. Dallas is projected to draft 5th in April, while San Fran is 13th. For fantasy, Ezekiel Elliott has been held under 10 fantasy points 8 times in his career, and 5 of them have come in the past 2 months. Betting Nuggets, since the start of the 2018 season, Dallas is 4-0 against the spread as a home underdog. 1-0 against the spread this year. San Fran is a 70.4% favorite, 70% going with San Fran. I'm going with San Fran. I think it will be a close game, though. I'm going to say 31-23, San Francisco beats Dallas. Not much more to say. Next up, another game that was supposed to be on Fox that got cross-flexed over to CBS. We got the Detroit Lions squaring off against the Tennessee Titans from Nissan Stadium in Nashville, Tennessee. Spiro Ditas and Adam Archuleta, they will be on the call for that one. And the spread favors Tennessee, opening up as a 10-point favorite. Tennessee leads the all-time series 9-3. The Titans have won the last 5 meetings in a row against the Lions. Their last meeting in Nashville, a wild 44-41 overtime win for Tennessee back in 2012. The Lions have not beaten the Titans overall and at them since they were the Houston Oilers back in 1995. That's the last time Detroit beat this team overall. That was a 24-17 final back in 95. So, but anywho, what to watch for? The quest for 2,000 rushing yards continues for Titans running back Derrick Henry, who has 1,532 yards with 3 games left. The Titans will try to take advantage of a Detroit run defense, allowing 132.8 yards a game. They want to get Henry the football, but will be cautious about running him too much. Keep an eye on how they manage his carries and how often he can break off longer runs. Bold prediction, Henry will put himself in a little bit better position for his chase for 2,000 yards after running for 200-plus yards against Detroit, including 2 touchdowns. The Lions' offense is matching their defense in terms of injuries, with questions about Frank Ragnow with a throat and Matthew Stafford ribs. So Detroit's already porous run defense might end up on the field more than it would want, which could leave for large holes in the second half. Stat to know, the Lions have allowed 21 rushing touchdowns, tied for the most this season. MF will tell you about the Titans' playoff chances. They can clinch a playoff berth. MF will tell you how they can do that in a moment. They have not made the playoffs in consecutive seasons since 2007, 2008. The Lions will be eliminated from the playoffs with a loss and a Cardinals win, but FPI gives them a 74% chance to pick in the top 10 in the draft. For fantasy, 4 of Henry's 7 career games with 30 points have come in December. Includes 36.2 points last weekend at Jacksonville. Betting nugget, when quarterback Ryan Tannehill starts regular season games for Tennessee, overs are 18-4-1, including 9-3-1 this season. Tennessee, a 79% FPI favorite. Tennessee wins going away 42-17. Derrick Henry is going to run circles around the Detroit Lions and their putrid run defense. So not much more to say. MF, Tennessee's playoff chances, how do they get in?
Well, they got 3 different scenarios that they can get in. Number 1, a Tennessee win and a Baltimore loss, that gets them in. Number 2, Tennessee win, a Miami loss, and here's something weird. Cleveland would have to either win or tie, and that gets them in. Number 3, this is another one that can happen where it's Tennessee win, Miami loss, and Tennessee or Cleveland can clinch via the strength of victory tiebreaker over the Miami Dolphins. Now, that third one I've never heard of before, but if Miami loses, Cleveland wins, and Tennessee wins, the Titans are in. So there you go, Anthony. Nothing more to say. It's all yours. And I do got Tennessee winning, by the way.
I thought so. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Final early game. Our last early game on the docket. I think this is the clear game of the week over on the other side of the ledger on Fox. Big implications for both of these teams. The Seattle Seahawks squaring off against the Washington football team from FedEx Field in Landover, Maryland. Kenny Albert, Jonathan Vilma, Shannon Spake, they will be on the call for that one. And I passed it for a moment. All right, I got it now. The spread favors Seattle. Seattle is a 6.5-point favorite. Washington, though, leads the all-time series 12-5, including their last meeting in 2017. The Redskins when they were not the Redskins, they stole one in Seattle, 17-14. Their last meeting in Washington, 2014, Seattle won 27-17. The Redskins have not beaten Seattle at home, or Washington rather, has not beaten Seattle at home since 2005. That was a 20-17 overtime win. MF, huge implications for both teams. Both of these teams chasing division titles. So major implications here. What do you know?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Neither team can get into the playoffs just yet. However, if you're Seattle, you're thinking right now, like you said, it's all about getting into the division. You are tied right now with the Rams, so a win there would just keep you in pace with the tie. If you're Washington, believe it or not, you have a chance to win the division. You'll go at 7-7. You'll still have a game up. Winners of 5 in a row if you get it. And then it all basically comes down to the final 2 games of the season. So, more than ever before, you want to win these games. And, it could happen. It's possible. So, we're going to have to wait and see. So, I do believe that when it's all said and done, man, this is such a tough game. But the thing is that Seattle doesn't play good when they come from west to east. And Washington has been playing, they're playing even better now than they did earlier in the year. But the biggest problem is Dwayne Haskins is the starter, so you don't know what you're going to get from him. If I'm Seattle, I dial it up and attack, attack, attack. I think Seattle's going to figure it out. I think they're going to get the job done. Give me the Seahawks to win this game. Anthony, it's yours.
Yes. What to watch for? Which team will handle the pressure applied by the opposing defense? Washington's front has been terrific, starting with Chase Young and Montez Sweat. Washington ranks third in sacks per pass attempt, 9.1% for the season, while the Seahawks rank first in that category since Week 8. Washington likes to play zone, which is wise against Seattle wideout DK Metcalf and quarterback Russell Wilson. Those two have combined for 3 plays of 50 yards or longer. Washington has allowed an NFL-high 7 such receptions. Bold prediction, Wilson will complete at least 75% of his passes. He has hit that mark 4 times this season, including last weekend as the Seahawks game plan against the Jets and their new defensive coordinator was to get the ball out quickly on shorter passes. Washington's loaded defensive line will give the Seahawks another reason to do that Sunday, especially if starting right tackle Brandon Shell is unavailable. Stat to know, over the past 4 weeks, Washington's defensive line leads NFL with 58 quarterback pressures and boasts the second highest pass rush win rate, beating blocks within 2.5 seconds 61% of the time per ESPN metrics and NFL Next Gen stats. Playoff draft picture, actually, MF, win and they're in for the Seahawks this weekend. Washington can't clinch the NFC East or a playoff spot, but it has a 68.6% chance of making the playoffs per FPI. They have not reached the playoffs since 2015. What to know for fantasy? Seattle receiver Tyler Lockett has been held under 12.5 fantasy points in 6 of 7 games since his 53-point outburst against the Cardinals, and Washington owns the 4th best defense against receivers this season. Betting nugget, Washington has covered in 4 consecutive games, all wins. Seattle, the FPI favorite, 61.3%. I'm going with Seattle to win. Close game, 24-17, Seattle wins. Now to the late games. We started off with an old NFC Eastern Division rivalry renewed. The Philadelphia Eagles squaring off against the Arizona Cardinals, State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona, formerly the University of Phoenix Stadium. That's where they'll be for this one. And it'll be Brandon Gaudin, Aqib Talib, and Sarah Walsh. They will be on the call for that one. And the spread favors Arizona by 6.5. Arizona leads the all-time series with Philly, 57-55 with 5 ties. Their last meeting was 2017 in Philly. Eagles won 34-7. Their last meeting in Arizona, 2014. Arizona won 24-20. The Eagles have not won in Arizona since their last year as divisional rivals before the divisional realignment. That was back in 2001 when they used to be in the NFC East. Philly won 21-7 in Arizona at the old Sun Devil Stadium. That was back in 2001. So 2001, the last time Philly won in Arizona. So let's get into this now. Kicking off the late action. Okay, where are you? Okay. What to watch for with running back Chase Edmonds, a game-time decision, and quarterback Kyler Murray having struggled in the run department recently. Watch for Murray to break out on the ground against the Eagles. Murray understands the Cardinals' playoff situation. They need to keep winning to stay alive, and if he runs, they tend to have a better chance to win. With 3 games left, the Cardinals don't have any time to waste, and Murray will do his part. Bold prediction, Eagles running back Miles Sanders will rack up 70 receiving yards and record his first receiving touchdown of the season. His prowess as a pass catcher on display during his rookie season faded for much of this year as he and quarterback Carson Wentz had trouble connecting. Sanders posted a season-high 36 receiving yards last week with Jalen Hurts under center, signaling bigger things to come. Stat to know, Murray is 9-4 in his career when rushing for 40-plus yards in a game, but he is 3-12-1 when held under that. Playoff draft picture, the Cardinals enter the weekend with a 56% chance of making the playoffs per the FPI. They'll have a 65% chance of making the playoffs with a win, but a 25% chance with a loss. No team has a larger potential swing, 40 percentage points in Week 15 than the Arizona Cardinals. The Eagles would be eliminated from the playoffs with a loss and a Washington win. They enter the weekend with a 6.5% chance of making the postseason, and those chances would jump to 18% with a win. Philadelphia currently is projected to have the 10th pick in the draft. What to know for fantasy? Sanders is coming off his best game of the season, 29.6 points, and there is home run upside, but it comes at a cost. Sanders has more single-digit performances 4 than 20-point games 3, with 3 of those duds coming in the past month. Arizona is, in the betting nugget, Arizona is 3-6 against the spread as a favorite with Murray under center. Arizona, the FPI favorite, 78%, about 78% Arizona. I'm going with Zona to win, but not by much. 24-21, Philadelphia. Or I should say Arizona beats Philadelphia. So not much more to say. MF, Philly, their playoff chances on life support. Arizona, how are they looking?
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting matchup, no doubt about it. I'm gonna go with Arizona as well. I think it's gonna be a tough game. There's really nothing more to add, Anthony. Let's get into the next one.
Well, it's Fox. It's the Zonk game of the week on Fox. This is pretty much the lock of the week right here. But we'll get into the quick numbers here. The other 405 game on Fox, it will feature the New York Jets squaring off against Los Angeles Rams from the beautiful new SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. This game will be on Fox. Kugler, Procure, and Laura Oakman. The Rams are the biggest favorite of the week. The Rams are opening up as 17-point favorites. 17. That's the spread for the Rams. And the Rams lead the all-time series 10-4. This would be their first time playing in LA since 1992, and the Rams won 18-10. The Jets did win the last time they played at the Rams. That was in St. Louis in 2012, 27-13. But the Rams lead the all-time series 10-4. The Jets have not won in LA since the very first meeting between these two teams back in 1970. But MF, I mean, this is the lock of the week here. The Rams, they got everything to play for. They're right there in the mix in that NFC Western race and in the playoff race. So MF, I think it's needless to say this is the lock of the week. I mean, they're 17-point favorites, for goodness sakes.
Yeah, they are, and there's really nothing more to add here. Anthony, let's just focus on, because the next game is really the main event. But let's just go very quickly. I know you want to get all the schematics, but this is one of those games that doesn't really need it. But fine, whatever.
I know.
Rams win. It's yours.
Yes. You know what to watch for. The Rams offense has rebounded since a Week 12 loss to the Niners, but watch for Coach Sean McVay and quarterback Jared Goff to potentially try to open up the playbook and find connections deep downfield against a struggling Jet defense that is allowing 286.8 passing yards a game, which ranks 31st in the NFL. Entering Sunday, Goff is averaging 6.18 air yards per attempt, which ranks 33rd out of 35 qualified passers. Bold prediction, Rams defensive tackle Aaron Donald will record at least 2 sacks and at least 2 run stuffs, tackles for 0 or negative yards. An elite interior pass rusher each week. He now faces a team with 2 backup guards in Pat Elflein and Josh Andrews. Stat to know, the Rams lead the NFL in total defense, 285.9 yards a game, while the Jets are last in total offense, 269.8. Playoff draft picture, the Rams can clinch a playoff berth with a win. Additionally, they have a 67.5% chance to take home the NFC West by the end of the season per FPI. The winless Jets have a 53% chance of losing out, which would ensure the number 1 pick in the draft. They are currently the favorite with a 75.4% chance to have the first pick. For fantasy, LA running back Cam Akers and Minnesota's Dalvin Cook are the only 2 players with 20 carries in each of the past 2 weeks. Not bad for a rookie who had 59 carries the season prior. Betting nugget, 8 of the last 10 Rams games have gone under the total. 93% favorites the Rams. The Rams are the FPI favorite, 93%. Rams all day, lock of the week, 35-6. Now let's get to the main event. The game of the week. Hands down the game of the week. Possible Super Bowl preview here. The Kansas City Chiefs squaring off against the New Orleans Saints from the Mercedes-Benz Superdome in New Orleans on CBS 425. Hello, friends. Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, Tracy Wolfson. Of course, they'll be there for this one. Kansas City opening up as a 2.5-point favorite. And the spread, the series history favors Kansas City 6-5. The Chiefs have won the last two meetings, including the last meeting in New Orleans, 2012. Kansas City won 27-24. Saints last beat the Chiefs at home back in 2004. That was a 27-20 final. So, MF, you'll get to do that thing I like in just a moment, but our game, the Tony and Mikey special here. What to watch for? It's two of the NFL's elite teams, both trying to secure the crucial number one seed in their respective conferences. The Chiefs' number one ranked offense meets the Saints' number two ranked defense. Oh, and Drew Brees is back, just in time for an epic quarterback matchup against Patrick Mahomes. There might not be a better game on the NFL's regular season schedule all year. Bold prediction, the Chiefs will force the Saints into at least two game-altering turnovers. The suddenly revived Chiefs pass rush had 4 sacks against the Dolphins last week and will pressure Drew Brees into some mistakes. Keep an eye on Chiefs safety Tyrann Mathieu, who has 4 interceptions over the past 3 games. Stat to know, Mahomes has thrown for at least 315 yards in 6 straight games, tied with Drew Brees in 2012 and 13, and Rich Gannon in 2002 for the longest such streak in NFL history. And according to the Elias Sports Bureau, his 2,309 yards over his last 6 games is the most over any 6-game span in NFL history. I'm not even going to get into the playoff draft picture because they break down the scenarios. I'm not going to take that thunder from MF because I know how much he loves to do that. So no worries, MF. I got you on that one. I'm just going to go right to fantasy. Chiefs running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been held under 40 rushing yards in 4 of his last 5 games, and despite being a fantasy first-rounder, he has just 2 top 10 performances this season. Betting nugget, Kansas City has won 5 consecutive one-score games, though it has failed to cover in all 5. It is the first team to win but not cover 5 straight since the 1986 New England Patriots. Kansas City, a slight FPI favorite, 55.2%, going with KC. I got to go with Kansas. Close game. 27-24, the Kansas City Chiefs steal one in the warm and cozy confines of the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. So there's nothing more to say. I'm going to bring in the Phil Simms to my Jim Nance. Good old MF Michael Fletcher. This is our game right here. This is the main event. It don't get no bigger than this. Possible Super Bowl preview here. What else is there to say except Patrick Mahomes versus Drew Brees? MF, do that thing I like. Hello, friends.
This is the game of all games. Everybody talks about the matchup. Everybody's been talking about this, and it's taken a life of its own. After the announcement of Drew Brees getting in there, that was it. This was the one that the whole nation was waiting for. And what's at stake? What's on the line in this game? It's basically this is the end of it. This is gonna be the one way that's gonna solidify everything. How's it gonna play out? We don't know, but the one thing is for sure that when it comes to the matchups, when it comes to the battle, the rivalry, whatever you want to call it, this is without a doubt the main event. Don't get no bigger than this. The big battle is here. It's now, and let's talk about it. Playoff picture stands like this. Let me see. The NFC. Here we go. NFC for New Orleans. Oh, come on. Sorry, guys. All right. For New Orleans. They can win the South by either winning their game or having Tampa Bay lose, and they will get in. For Kansas City, already everybody knows Kansas City has clinched their division. Right now, there's really nothing else that they really need at this moment. So they're holding on right now. They basically will get one step closer to the first round bye if they win. Actually, if they win and Pittsburgh loses, that would be enough for them to get the number 1 overall seed and the first round bye going to the playoffs. So there's really nothing more to add here. Anthony, this is the game of the year at the Superdome. I gotta go with Kansas City. I just feel like Kansas City, they're just on another level. I don't know. I'm wondering what Drew Brees is going to look like. There's no Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas is on IR. He's out. That's a major loss for the New Orleans Saints. I think Tyreek Hill's going to have a big game. I think Travis Kelce's going to have a big game. I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to turn it around. But not only that, but I expect Alvin Kamara to have a huge game. I think Emmanuel Sanders will as well. This will be a Super Bowl preview. But, man, it's going to be a tough one. I think Kansas City wins. Anthony, it's yours.
All right. So with that being said, let's get into the first of our two primetime games to close this thing out. And I just want to make sure that's where I am here. Come on. Yep. Okay. Yep. This is confirmed. Okay. Sunday Night Football on NBC. Interesting matchup, to say the very least. This is our number 3 game of the week on our side of the ledger. The Cleveland Browns squaring off against the New York Giants from MetLife Stadium in the Meadowlands in East Rutherford, New Jersey on NBC. I'm afraid I do have a little bit of some bad news. Al Michaels was originally scheduled to call the game, but because of COVID protocols, Al Michaels is out. Mike Tirico is in. So it'll be Mike Tirico with Chris Collinsworth and Michelle Tafoya. They will be in the Meadowlands for this one. Cleveland opening up as a 6.5-point favorite, and Cleveland leads the all-time series 26-21 with 2 ties. However, the Giants have won the last 2 meetings with the Browns, including the last meeting in New York, 2012. Giants won 41-27. The Cleveland Browns have not won in New York against the Giants since they were at the old Giants Stadium all the way back in 1985. A wild 35-33 shootout win for the old Browns. So MF, Browns, Giants in the Meadowlands on NBC. Implications for both teams. Cleveland more so, but the Giants, they definitely took a big hit after getting manhandled by Arizona.
Yeah, that was a bad loss for the Giants. They didn't really need that type of a loss. But, with the division on the line for the Giants, if they should win and Washington loses, they're right back in it. They're right back in it for the division title with 2 games to go. That could be very interesting for Cleveland. Like you said, Anthony, this could be their moment. Cleveland, a devastating loss last week for them as well, losing to Baltimore. That really could have cemented their place into the playoffs. However, they could still get in if they win their remaining games, and then maybe hope and pray that Baltimore gets tripped up along the way. If Miami does their business and holds off New England, that gets them in. So, Cleveland and New York, big game. I think Cleveland's going to do it. I think Cleveland will bounce back after that devastating loss. So, yeah, give me the Cleveland Browns to beat the New York Giants. There's really nothing more to say. Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah. What to watch for? The Browns have the 3rd-ranked rushing offense, 156.2 yards a game, and the Giants have the 7th-ranked rushing defense, 101.5. Whoever wins that matchup likely wins this game. Bold prediction: in teammate and close friend Odell Beckham Jr.'s former stadium, Browns wide receiver Jarvis Landry will account for multiple touchdowns in a game for the first time this season. Stat to know: Cleveland quarterback Baker Mayfield has averaged 9.9 yards per attempt off play action this season, second best in the NFL, but he has averaged 6.3 yards per attempt without play action, 29th in the NFL. Playoff/draft picture: the Browns enter the weekend with an 82% chance of making the playoffs per FPI. Win, and that becomes 95%. Lose, and the Browns are down to 68%. The Giants are also fighting for a playoff spot and enter the weekend with a 24% chance of winning the NFC East. A victory would help, giving them a 41% chance, but that number would fall to the single digits with a loss, 9%. New York is currently projected to have the number 12 draft slot. What to know for fantasy? There are 14 tight ends who have seen at least 55 targets this season, and Evan Engram of the Giants ranks last among them in points per target, 1.22. In fact, that rate is 18.1% below any of the other qualifiers and 29.5% below the average. Betting nugget, Giants are 8-3 against the spread as an underdog this season. Browns are the FPI favorite. Cleveland, 58.1%. I'm going with the Cleveland Browns to win this game. 28-24. Browns over the Giants. One last game, and that's Monday Night Football on ESPN. I know this is the second time these two teams have met because they met recently in a game that was on Fox. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers squaring off against the Cincinnati Bengals. Monday Night Football on ESPN. Paul Brown Stadium in Cincinnati. Steve Levy, Brian Griese, Louis Riddick, and Lisa Salters. They will have it. Steelers opening up as a 14.5-point favorite. And they met a short time ago in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh won going away. So this has been a one-sided rivalry. Pittsburgh now leads it with that win. It's now 65-35 in favor of Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has owned this rivalry since 2015, including playoffs. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They have now won 11. They have won 11 straight meetings. 11 straight meetings with the Bengals. The Bengals have not beaten the Pittsburgh Steelers in their home of Cincinnati since 2013. 20-10 was the final there. Every year since 2014, Pittsburgh has gone into Cincinnati and won. So what to watch for? Pittsburgh is trying to snap a 2-game losing skid that has halted its momentum on the season. The Bengals have dropped 5 straight, have been decimated by injuries, and are looking for their first victory over their AFC North rivals since November 1st, 2015. Bold prediction, the Steelers will rush for more than 100 yards. The running game has been non-existent for 3 games, but Pittsburgh is facing a Bengals team that gives up 102 rushing yards a game, balanced offense, and this Monday Night Football game will allow them to correct their shortcomings in the ground game. Stat to know, drops have been a major issue for the Steelers this season. They have 33 total drops and a 6.3% drop rate, both highest in the NFL. And over the past 3 weeks, they have 14 drops and a 9.9% drop rate. Wide receiver Deontay Johnson leads all players with 11 drops, while tight end Eric Ebron is tied for the lead among tight ends with 6. MF will get into what the Steelers can do to win the AFC North. MF can get you that in a moment. It would be their first division title since 2017, should they get it, by the way. The Bengals are projected to have the 3rd pick in the draft and have a 96.1% chance to remain in the top 5 per FPI. For fantasy, yes, quarterback Joe Burrow was calling the shots, but in the first Steelers-Bengals game, Cincinnati wide receiver T. Higgins accounted for 54% of the team's receiving yards. Betting nugget, the largest upset in Monday Night Football history is 10.5 points, done 3 times. Most recently by MF's Miami Dolphins against Bullock's New England Patriots in 2017. Pittsburgh is the FPI favorite, 76.8%, just about 77% going with Pittsburgh. I'm going with Pittsburgh. Cincinnati's got another quarterback, Ryan Finley. He takes over for the injured Brandon Allen. Pittsburgh, they're hopping mad. They've been embarrassed. They've been humiliated the last 2 weeks by Washington and by my Bills. Pittsburgh is going to kick the doors down at Paul Brown Stadium, and they're going to make themselves at home. And they are going to hurt the Bengals. They're going to hurt them bad, and that's all there is to it. 27-6. MF, nothing more to say. Pittsburgh hopping mad. What's their playoff scenario looking like?
Well, basically, if they win and Cleveland loses, they win the division. They will capture the AFC North. They could still have it, and they also still have an outside shot at the number 1 overall, but they would need Kansas City to trip up somewhere along the way in order for that to happen. But the way that Kansas City's been playing, I just don't think that's going to happen. But you never know. If they lose to New Orleans tomorrow, that changes everything in the AFC. So we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. Nothing more to add. Pittsburgh wins, and Anthony, let's call it a night.
Let's do that. We'll put the bow on this Week 15 edition of Strictly Sports NFL Saturday. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in. We will be back with you tomorrow night over on MF's channel, Brace Bay 95, following the WWE TLC pay-per-view, as we will have our complete recap of that event. And then we'll be back with you Monday night for Ridiculously Raw. And then we'll address Wednesday Night Mayhem because we know there will be NXT. Dynamite pushed back to a later hour because of the NBA on TNT. We'll have to wait and see what MF has to say on that. We'll talk about that. And then I'm not sure what the schedule will be because we know we do have the Christmas holidays coming up. So we'll have to wait and see on that. So for now, until tomorrow night for the TLC pay-per-view recap, this is Anthony Florio signing off for my elite panel. Good old MF Michael Fletcher, Michael Bullock, Stevie Woodson, and always and forever Derek Ferreira. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, throw it up, Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed Sunday. And until tomorrow night for our TLC recap, you've been watching the Week 15 edition of Strictly Sports NFL Saturday right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube and StreamYard.com. For everybody who's been a part of this one, for now, Anthony Florio, so long. Bye, everybody. Bye.